Ever notice how silence can be more powerful than words? It's a strange truth, how sometimes saying nothing at all can leave a deeper mark than anything you could ever say. When we choose silence, especially in moments of tension or conflict, it can echo louder than any angry or hurtful words. In the quiet space, things can shift, and not always for the better.
Think about it.
When someone withdraws or withholds their words, they're not just protecting themselves, they're sending a message. And that message often stings, sometimes more than we realize. It's in those moments when silence speaks louder than anything we could express with our mouths. Stoic philosophy teaches us the importance of control, not just of our actions, but of our words too. The Stoics understood that our inner peace and our external relationships are deeply influenced by what we choose to say and, just as importantly, what we choose not to say. Our words can build bridges or burn them down, but silence can create the space for people to wonder, to fill in the blanks, and sometimes it can make them feel abandoned or neglected. But here's the thing, silence doesn't have to be a weapon. If we take a moment to reflect on the power it holds, we can start to use it mindfully. The Stoics weren't silent because they feared confrontation. They knew that true strength often lies in restraint. It's about choosing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when silence itself can be the answer we need. Ready to explore how your silence can be your strongest tool? Let's dive deeper. When we choose silence, it's easy to think we're avoiding conflict. But in reality, silence can sometimes be the most profound response to a situation. The Stoics believed that we should master our impulses, and one of the toughest impulses to control is the urge to speak in the heat of the moment. When we're frustrated, angry, or hurt, the words that escape us often carry more weight than we intend. In those moments, it's not the words that hurt the most, it's the things left unsaid. When you stay silent, you're showing restraint, not weakness. In fact, silence has a power that can turn the tide of many situations. Imagine holding back a sharp response that could escalate an argument. Instead of feeding into negativity, silence can break the pattern of tension. But it's not just about holding back, it's about being deliberate. When silence is intentional, it carries a message of calm and control. It's a space where you can gather your thoughts, center yourself, and decide the best course of action. The beauty of mindful silence lies in its ability to preserve your peace. Instead of reacting out of emotion, you choose a response that aligns with your values. It's not about being passive, it's about being present. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control and release the need to control everything else. Sometimes the wisest choice is to let the silence settle, to let the moment pass, and allow things to unfold without interference. Next time you're faced with a moment of tension, remember this. Your silence can be your strength. It's not about saying nothing, it's about saying everything without uttering a word. Now don't get me wrong, silence doesn't always mean peace. There are times when our silence can be misinterpreted, and that's when things get tricky. A cold shoulder or a refusal to communicate can leave people wondering what's going on inside your mind. But here's where mindfulness comes into play. The Stoics weren't about being silent just for the sake of it. Their silence was purposeful. It was about aligning their actions with their higher principles. They understood that silence could either invite understanding or create distance, and it's up to us to navigate that balance. The key is to use silence as a tool, not a weapon. When you pull back in silence, don't let it become a means of manipulation or a way to punish someone. That's where the danger lies. Silence used as a form of control or an escape from confrontation. But when you practice mindful silence, you're not trying to create pain. You're taking the time to process your emotions, to think clearly, and to respond from a place of inner strength, rather than from reactive frustration. In relationships, both personal and professional, the quiet moments can offer an opportunity for growth. When we choose to be silent, we create space for others to step in, to reflect, and to change. Sometimes the most profound conversations happen not through words, but in the stillness of a shared moment. And when we are mindful about our silence, we send a message of self-awareness, control, and respect for both ourselves and those around us. So, the next time you find yourself tempted to say something in anger or frustration, remember the Stoic wisdom. Silence isn't weakness, it's power. It's a chance to reflect, to breathe, and to choose a response that is true to who you are. Use your silence wisely and watch how it transforms your interactions. It's easy to overlook the quiet moments, isn't it? We live in a world that values speed, noise, and constant interaction. But in that rush, we often forget the power of stillness. Think about the times in your life when you've been faced with a decision and chose to remain silent. How often did that silence lead to clarity? Maybe it was a moment of reflection, or perhaps it gave someone else the space to voice their thoughts. Either way, that pause can be transformative. The Stoics embraced the idea of being present in every moment, and that includes moments of silence. Silence isn't just about what you're not saying, it's about fully being with what's unfolding in front of you. When you practice mindful silence, you're not just withholding words. You're creating space for a deeper understanding of yourself and others. Instead of rushing to fill the air with noise, you give yourself the chance to process, to understand, and to respond with intention. In the long run, silence can be one of the most effective ways to strengthen your relationships. It allows you to step back and view situations with a clearer perspective. By not immediately reacting, you allow yourself to be more thoughtful in your responses, which ultimately leads to better communication and deeper connections. So as you move through your day, remember that your silence speaks volumes. It holds the power to shift the dynamics of any situation, whether it's in a tense conversation, a moment of conflict, or even in your own inner dialogue. Choose your silence wisely and let it be a reflection of your strength, wisdom, and inner peace. You don't need to say everything. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be quiet and listen. In the end, silence is not an absence, it's a presence that speaks louder than words when used mindfully and intentionally. Just like the Stoics who mastered their impulses and emotions, we can learn to harness the quiet moments for clarity, strength, and deeper understanding. The next time you find yourself in a moment of tension or uncertainty, remember, you don't always have to fill the space with words. Sometimes your silence will say everything you need it to. Silence, when chosen with purpose, is a reflection of inner control, wisdom, and emotional maturity. So, embrace the quiet, allow it to guide you, and trust in its power to create peace in your life and your relationships. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Now take a moment and think, how can you use your silence today